Katie explains it time. Can you guess what we're going to talk about? No, it's not Mount Fuji. We're going to talk about trains. And we're going to talk about what Katie knows about trains. I'm sure there's tons of other things that are about trains, but we're only going to talk about what I know about trains, because I don't want to tell you what I don't know about trains. Stuff I don't know about trains. I don't know how you become a conductor of a train.
How much does a train weigh?
Don't know how much a train weighs. How much electricity does a train use? I don't know. These are things I don't know about trains.
Can dogs drive trains?
Yes. Okay. The reason why we're doing this video is because we got a suggestion from a patron, which was excellent. Thank you. And we've also gotten some other stuff, like some other suggestions that we thought were really good. So those might come in the future. But today is trains. We also really love the train system. I remember coming here for the first time and actually riding trains actively for the first time in my life. And it was really cool. Like, all the maps and all the connections and all the timing and everything was really exciting to me when I came to Japan for the first time. And we use these trains every day. Like, every day. Today we didn't use trains. But we did not leave. How far have we walked from the house today?
I don't know.
Maybe like 250 meters? That's as far as we've been away from the house. You go 500 meters away, you're probably at the train. Okay? The train is just everywhere. And Japanese people use them all the time. It's more important than cars. It is the lifeblood that gets people from one place to another here in Japan. Like, that's just how they do it. You're not going to go out and get in your car. You're going to, well, some people do. But you're going to go get on the train to go wherever you want to go. You're going to see me using my notes a lot because I have written down a whole bunch of things I want to tell you guys about, and I don't want to forget anything. Some overall facts about the train system. Japan's train system started in 1872. That's over 100 years. We're getting close to 150 years, and I would say they are perfecting it. Except for a few minor things that drive us nuts. They are perfecting it. Japan is the prime role model for a train-going society. Since 1872, it's grown exponentially. Like, I can only imagine what it looked like in 1872. If you went and found somebody in 1872 and was like, come look at the train system now, they'd just be like, holy sh... They would just... Wow. That would be really cool. If you can travel in time, please do that. In Japan, there are 27,000 kilometers of railway track. That's 16,700 miles of railway track. That's a lot. And on those railway tracks, there are over 100 private companies that run trains. 6 of those companies are owned by JR, Japan Railways, which you've probably heard of it if you've ever done any investigating about coming to Japan. JR has like the special railway pass that most tourists come and get here. So JR owns 6 of the companies that run trains here in Japan. So I told you about the 27,000 kilometers of railway track. JR owns 20,000 of those kilometers. About 70% of, and I didn't do the math on that, so if it's wrong, just deal with it, it's 70%. About 70% of the railway tracks here are owned by Japan Railways, JR. There's 94 other companies that are just picking up the scraps that JR's leaving behind. And most of those companies are going to be doing subway systems around JR in highly populated areas. So there are some needs for these extra companies, so it makes sense that they're here, but it's kind of irritating in a way. And you'll figure that out. If you come here, you'll ride both and you'll get irritated. And you can call us and tell us why you're irritated and we'll totally understand. But that's for another time. Maybe Katie Explains Annoyances of Japan will be another video. So we mainly ride JR lines. I mean, obviously they own most of what's available for trains here in Japan, so we ride JR lines every single day. Like, what I ride to work involves no subways. I only take JR. And when we moved here to Japan, Kumagaya, the only station is a JR station. So we've been JR people ever since we came to Japan. Love JR. So good. I want to focus mainly on Tokyo and some of the surrounding areas, which would be like maybe up to Kumagaya where we started and where we live now, because that's what we know. I have no idea what's going on in Hokkaido or down in Kyushu, the north, the south. We only know about the east area that we live in. And here it is super complicated. Just looking at all the different maps of trains is totally complicated. And that happens in Tokyo, but it's happening throughout the entire country. Is Japan a company? Okay, thank you. So it's happening throughout the entire country. These veins of trains are just going all over the place to get people from point A to point B. And that's just incredible. So I wanted to show you, first I should tell you that here in Tokyo, there are 503 train stations. That's a ridiculous number of train stations. And I'm not talking about the suburbs. I'm not talking about out into Kumagaya or even up into where we used to live in Musashirawa. I'm talking about the core, the 13 wards of Tokyo, like the super duper 23. The 23 wards of Tokyo. Like the super duper core of Tokyo, 503 stations in there. And I kind of estimate that I've maybe been to 50 of those 503. We're including subways, we're including JR stations, and haven't even touched it. It's just too many stations. It's incredible. So as I said, it's really incredibly complicated. So I'm going to show you some of the maps that we use on our phones to figure out how to go from one place to the other. All right, the first map is going to be the JR map. This is JR East. And I'll explain a little bit more about JR East and why I'm excited about later this month. So here, this is the core of Tokyo. If you look at the light green line, this is the Yamanote line. It is basically a circular line that goes around the city to some of your major tourist attractions and major stations in general, such as Tokyo Station and Shinjuku and Ikebukuro. We currently live here at Otsuka. So right in the middle of things, which is so exciting. We used to live here in Musashirawa. I call this the elbow of Tokyo. It's just over there in the elbow. Up here is Kumagaya, so even further away is where we started living here in Japan. And this just shows you that we used to live and currently still live in JR areas. JR is the only company that goes out to Kumagaya and it brings people into the city. Most of the other private companies are going to be running in densely populated areas, moving people around that area, but not out to other places. But sometimes when you go out into the countryside, there are like little companies that run like this really shitty train from point A to point B, nowhere. Like nowhere to nowhere. And then they've just got like this little shitty train that does that. So there are other companies as well. So this is the JR map that we were looking at, and this is kind of what we live with. This is what we look at, not on a daily basis anymore because we kind of have a bit of it memorized. Underneath this map is this map. This is the Tokyo subway. I'm going to pop right back. In this area, within the Yamanote line, so in this little chunk here, lies all of this. That's ridiculous. So, the Tokyo subway and the JR lines. JR is usually at ground or above, and the Tokyo subway is underneath. They're separate, owned by different companies, but yet they still intermingle. Because you might be riding a subway line, but you need to get to a JR location. They've still got to connect between a station somewhere for you to get from point A to point B. And that's just insane. The amount of complicatedness of them doing their own thing and then still connecting, it makes sense somehow to someone who's engineering all of this stuff.
A good example is the Ikebukuro station is right here. And if you flip back to the JR map, the Ikebukuro station is here. They're in the same building, and you can walk between the two. And that's how you transfer between the two systems. But
but they're owned by different places, and their stations aren't together. You have to go through one turnstile and then into another turnstile. So they're not friends. They're just there. Yeah. Maybe they're even enemies. Do you think they're enemies?
I don't know. Just neighbors.
Neighbors. And not like Squeaker. I don't think they hate each other. Okay, but so this is the subway, and we saw the JR. Now, sometimes you have to go from JR to the subway, and you need to know where they interconnect. You need another map. Here we go. Holy crap! This shows all of the JR stops and all of the subway stops and how they interconnect. So if you need to get from one to another, you can. But you can't use the two separate maps that we were looking at before. The black and white lines are going to show you JR. And then the colored lines are showing you the subway. So sometimes you have to travel between the two, and you'll have to use this complicated map.
And like Cebu is like, this is an overground train system, but it's not a JR train system. And then like this new shuttle thing, and like these are all private railways that exist as well within the Tokyo area.
Oh, so I want to show you something that we got just recently that we think is really, really cool. So come to the other room. Checking notes, not messing up. Okay, so what we're gonna call the JR and the subway map mixed together, we'll call it the mix map, all right? We bought our own mix map, and it's this lovely, glorious poster. We're so excited about it. So like now when we're going somewhere, and I think that this is basically just Tokyo. It is just Tokyo, yeah. Tokyo Metropolitan Railway System. So we can't look at Kumamoto on it.
The suburban area is on this as well.
Yeah, you can get up into Kumagaya. I almost called it Kumamoto. So don't get off track, Katie. Keep on track. All right. So this is our new map, and we love it. I mean, it looks gorgeous. Just to let you know what you're looking at, this is the Yamanote line, which is the circular line that runs within the city. We are located here at the moment. And for reference of past things, there's Kumagaya. Quite far away. So these are tons and tons of different lines, lots of railway tracks happening here. On these railway tracks, we have many different types of trains. I'm only going to talk about 3 of them. I'll talk about 4 of them, but only 3 of them right now. The first is a local train. If you're riding the local train, it's going to stop at every single station so that all the local people can get off wherever they live. Second one is the rapid train. The rapid train is going to stop at major stations and at some of the local stations, but it will be skipping a few. There's also a commuter rapid, and a commuter rapid mainly only runs during commuting hours in the morning and in the evening, and it's going to hit the major stations. It's not there to get you all the way home. It's there to get people to their destination quicker, but not exactly to home unless they live at a major station. So if you hit a commuter rapid, you might not get to the station that you want, so it can be a little bit dangerous. You have to look at it. They have these signs in the station where you have to look and you have to determine, okay, commuter rapid goes here, should I do this one? It can be very confusing. So there's different types of trains, and that doesn't even include the crap ton of trains we don't understand. The limited express, anything that says express we don't understand, because JR tends to use rapid and commuter rapid. Other private companies use express. We don't even worry about that because if we get on those trains, you might need a different type of ticket, or you might have to pay extra. So it can be very confusing. And that's not even touching on the Shinkansen.
Bullet train.
The bullet train. Okay. You should call it the Shinkansen because it sounds so much, well, bullet train's pretty good. Okay, I like both. You can call it whatever the fuck you want. Okay, so Shinkansen can go up to 320 kilometers per hour. That's 200 miles per hour. So that's pretty cool. But I think that's average for most of your, what are these trains? High-speed trains. So that's pretty average. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was costs. So kind of going to compare like local regular trains to the Shinkansen. Okay, so we're going to talk about Kubagaya to Tokyo. On a regular train, which is what we use to take all the time because we are not rich. From Kumagaya to Tokyo Station, it's going to take about 70 minutes, and it's going to cost 1,110 yen. Prices have changed a little bit because of compensation tax, but that's what it used to be when we lived there. So about $11, 70 minutes. If you want to take...
One way.
One way. If you want to take the Shinkansen, it will take 39 minutes, so close to cutting it in half, but it's going to cost you $37. 3,700 yen, something. So it's going to cost you a lot more money to get there half as quick, which is good if you're in a hurry, but we're never that much in a hurry. So we have only taken the Shinkansen maybe twice from Kumagaya to get here. So you decide whether that's worth it. I don't know if it's worth it or not. Do you happen to know how much it would cost to get from one side to the other of Tokyo?
It's pretty cheap. It's like 200 yen or something.
Yeah, I think you're right. Somewhere around like $3 to get from one side of Tokyo to the other. Which is pretty good. I mean, so, if I'm starting out at Otsuka and I need to get to work, which is at Tamachi, it's exactly right across the city, which is kind of shitty. But it is about 300 yen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
So the distance, basically, the distance from Tokyo all the way to Kumagaya is like 65 kilometers or something like that.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, and the distance from one side of the city to another, depending on where you go, I think it's only like 6 or 7 kilometers or something, right?
Yeah, Robert was telling me that from Tokyo to Shinjuku, around that, like across the city this way, was about 6 kilometers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're totally right about that. Okay, one side of Tokyo, the other. So we've covered that. Okay. This is such an idea to tackle. Like, I don't even know how to explain how hard this is to tackle. All right, next, tickets. They have machines that you can buy tickets from in the station. We did that for the entire time that we visited here. We just got tickets. We didn't really understand that they have special cards, which I meant to have my card out to show you. Come with me, let's get it. So, okay. So they have cards. There's a Suica and there's also a Passmo. We use Suica because penguins. I don't know who's using Passmo, why they're using
Metro
Passmo.
people? I think it's like the Metro
okay,
system.
so it's for the Metro.
But you can use it on both. If you have one, you can use it on both systems.
Alright, but penguins are way better than not having penguins. Alright, let's get some light. This is my current card. And I also want to promote this as a souvenir item for yourself if you come to Japan, because when you set up this card, you can have your name written on it. And it's kind of hard to see my name on it. Yeah. Catherine Marshall. My name's really long, but it's something that you'll use frequently while you're here, and it's also something that you can personalize with your own name on it. This is actually showing my commuting in the morning coming from Otsuka to Tamachi, and that my card will expire on December 1st. So it's used as a commuter card as well. You don't really...
Basically, you just pass it over the turnstile.
Yeah, it's just near field.
RFID?
RFID.
I think that's right. No, NFC.
NFC.
Yeah.
So you can buy just a regular little ticket for a one-way go, or you can buy that. If you come as a tourist, it's about 550 yen to buy that card, but it is very convenient to use, and it's a souvenir that you can take home with you. So I promote it. I made my dad get it when he came. So those are the cards and tickets. And one of the questions that we got on Patreon was, do they have below ground, above ground tracks? And as you know, from the subway, we've explained it there are tracks that are below the ground, there are tracks that are at the ground, and there are tracks that are above the ground. For instance, the Saikyo line is above ground around where we live. Like when we lived in Musashi Urawa, that was above ground. And also, a good majority of the tracks for the Shinkansen are above ground, which helps with suicides, I think.
And from hitting animals and things, too.
And hitting animals. I think there's some sort of statistic that says that the Shinkansen has never had a fatality in the building, in the constructing, in the functioning.
So, yeah, or something very
like that.
Rare or something.
Yeah, like super rare. So no suicides are happening on there.
I think it's like accidental death, like as in like a train crash.
Oh, okay.
But I'm sure people have killed themselves with it. You know, it's had to have happened. It's terrible to say that, but
I'm
it's
sure
true.
that they've. I don't know. I don't think they have.
We'll have to look it up.
We'll leave it at that. This is not a fact. Okay? So, yeah, those are above ground, and we think that is to keep from having things interfere with the functioning of the bullet train. I mean, if you're going like 300 kilometers an hour, you kind of want things to be going the best that they can. A lot of the trains that we ride are at level. So most JR lines, I don't think there's any JR that's underground, but I could be wrong.
They go through
about
tunnels,
that.
but
yeah,
like
tunnels,
the whole system underground. Not
most
that I'm
of
aware
it is not fully underground like a subway system, but as you know, we have subway systems as well. Okay, so a couple other things that I wanted to add were just little trivia things. So this has been, you've heard the brunt of the train system. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them and we'll try to answer them the best that we can. I just kind of wanted to give an overview and now for a little bit of trivia. And hopefully when you come to Japan, or if you're already in Japan, you can go and enjoy these little trivia bits. The deepest station here in Tokyo is Roppongi Station. I'm not sure, I want to say it's like 290 meters below ground level, and we've been in there. Is that crazy? I don't think that's crazy.
It's pretty far.
It's really far.
You go down those escalators forever.
We rode 4 like large escalators to get back up to ground level when we went to Roppongi. Like, wow, it's pretty deep. Also, the busiest station here in Japan is Shinjuku Station, and it will feel quite busy when you're in it. 3 million people pass through there every day, and there are over 200 exits. So more than likely you will find yourself overwhelmed, confused, lost, and probably not in the right place you're supposed to be. That's Shinjuku. The oldest station, I have a picture of this, and I think it is so perfect. The oldest station is Harajuku Station, which is a place you will definitely go if you come to Japan. It is where all the trendy people go to buy their clothes, and it's also the street with so many people in them.
It's next to Yoyogi Park, too.
And it's next to Yoyogi Park, which is another place to go on a nice Sunday. This is Harajuku Station, and after I read that Harajuku Station was the oldest station, I saw this in my head and I was like, it makes so much sense. Like, that just looks old. We're not sure if it's the oldest station to be built or if it's the oldest station still remaining not having been rebuilt. Because Tokyo Station's rather old, but it recently just went through a rebuild, so we don't know. I'm pretty sure it's based on rebuild stuff. And it looks really cool. Now that I know that fact, I think that it's one of the coolest stations, so enjoy that. And another thing you'll definitely need to know, this is not trivia, but you need to know this before you come to party in Tokyo. The trains do not run all night long. So you go out drinking, you're going to want to know what your last train is, and your buddy's going to want to know what their last train is, and everybody's going to be freaking out around 11:45. I gotta get my last train! I gotta get my last train! And then you'll probably miss your last train. That's happened to me.
So you see like drunk people sleeping in train stations.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. I haven't slept in a station. I've walked a really, really, really long way because I missed my last train. I think I walked about 10 kilometers to try and get home, and that didn't even get me home. I still had to take a taxi to get the rest of the way. So just know that the trains do not run all night, and that's another one of the annoyances.
Keeps taxi drivers in business.
It does. Good for them. Bad for those who want to have fun past 12:30. So basically, if you want to have fun past 12:30, you need to go to karaoke, and they'll let you stay there all night, which is another thing you should be doing while you're here in Japan. So that's the Kyde Explains It video on trains. Any questions, we'd be happy to answer. We really love the train system, and hopefully this told you something you didn't know. And if you knew all of that, why didn't you make this video? Okay, well, enjoy.